Dear viewers and listeners of Khabar Hub and Radio Candid, welcome to very special interview with Ambassador Rajiv Bhatia on the future of BIMSTEC. Ambassador Rajiv Bhatia is Distinguished Fellow at Gateway House, India. He was the Director General of Indian Council of World Affairs and served as Ambassador to Myanmar and Mexico and as High Commissioner to Kenya, South Africa, and Lesotho. He was Senior Visiting Research Fellow at the Institute of Southeast Asian Studies, Singapore, and is a founding member of the Kalinga International Foundation. He is also chair of core group of experts on BIMSTEC and member of Governing Council of Asian Conference. He has published India in Global Affairs, Perspective from Sapru House, and India-Myanmar Relations, Changing Contours. Mr. Bhatia, welcome to our show.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Mr. Bhatia, the first question for today is the significance of BIMSTEC growing in the Indian foreign policy?
This is a question close to my heart. I think it would be true to say that the importance of BIMSTEC, which is an association of 7 countries, 5 from South Asia and 2 from Southeast Asia, has indeed been growing for India and for all the other member states as well. I assert this mainly because BIMSTEC touches at least 3 key policies of India. Number 1, the Neighborhood First policy. Number 2, the Act East policy. And number 3, the national strategy to expand and accelerate the development of the northeastern region of India. So in effect, BIMSTEC, we hope, will contribute to the fulfillment of all the 3 policies and their objectives, and therefore it is important. But I must also add a word of caution here, if not a disappointment. I think if we look at the recent history of BIMSTEC, we recognize that until about 2015, BIMSTEC had only secured modest or limited progress. But between 2016 and 2019, BIMSTEC actually showed a lot of activism, a lot of progress. The summit took place in 2018, then follow-up was taken up in a big manner. But in the COVID era, suddenly, it again went back into a phase of passivity. So I would say we have been very enthusiastic about the growing assertiveness of BIMSTEC, but we really want it now to overcome the touch of inertia that it has shown in the past year and a half.
Mr. Bhatia, as BIMSTEC Secretariat was set up in 2014, and there are talks about the FTA gaining some ground, the sectors of engagement has been narrowed to 5 more focused areas compared to the 16 originally enumerated. What should we make of this development in the context of multilateral cooperation in the region?
I think the recent development of BIMSTEC should be appreciated in the context of developments since 2016. In 2016, India hosted the BRICS Summit. BRICS Summit at that time had the tradition of arranging interaction between BRICS leaders and leaders of the neighborhood of the host country. So when India was hosting the summit, India thought of inviting the leaders of BIMSTEC. So as a result, leaders of Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, and Thailand were invited. First, they met in a retreat, and then they met with the leaders of BRICS, which are Russia, China, India, Brazil, and South Africa. And from that time onward, it came into big prominence, the BIMSTEC. Then I think at the suggestion of Nepal, BIMSTEC realized that it needed a formal charter. And so it started the journey on institutional reform. And a big push was given to the idea of reform at the 2018 summit. And to give credit to the diplomats and officials involved, they produced a very important and substantial package of reform. This package was even approved by the foreign ministers of BIMSTEC in their June 2021 meeting. This is where we are. So while BIMSTEC is still not able to do very much on the economic side directly, especially on the side of comprehensive trade agreement, it has prepared the ground for very substantial institutional reform, including the prioritization of sectors. But the only difficulty, Pramod ji, today is that the BIMSTEC summit keeps getting delayed. It was supposed to be taking place in 2020, then at some stage in 2021. And now the news from the chair, that is Sri Lanka, is that Sri Lankans are keen on an in-person summit, and that depends on the assessment of the COVID situation. So we are hoping that an in-person summit would take place before this year is out, or at least a digital summit would take place, because it is far too long for an association like ours to remain in a bit of a limbo at the highest political level.
Mr. Bhatia, do you think that bilateral level engagement and cooperation can translate into increased efficiency at a multilateral level? Has this proved to be effective in the context of BIMSTEC?
Oh yes, I agree with you completely. I think the good health of a club depends on the good state of the bilateral relations of the members. If 2 or 3 or 4 sets of members are busy fighting with each other for some reason or the other, that club really cannot progress very well. Now, luckily, that is not the case with BIMSTEC. It may be more with SAARC, but not BIMSTEC. Yet, unfortunately, in the last 2-3 years, one has to be quite honest, because we are in a scholarly setting here, there have been tensions in India-Nepal relations, in India-Sri Lanka relations, in Bangladesh-Myanmar relations, and they have had some impact on what I call the inertia of BIMSTEC. And that is the reason why I think intellectual leaders of these countries, the leaders of the eminent think tanks of BIMSTEC area, I feel, have a special responsibility to try to advocate the view that this institution is needed for the benefit, for the security, prosperity, and progress of our region, and it must meet regularly, and it must attend to all its duties properly.
And Mr. Bhatia, why is India failing to counter Chinese infrastructure projects in the region by effective utilization of BIMSTEC and SAARC? In this background, do you believe re-emergence of BIMSTEC and SAARC can neutralize Chinese influence in South Asian countries?
Well, I think I would have some difficulty with this question, the way it is framed. I think it sort of betrays the notion that India has the same economic muscle as China. You and I know very well that Chinese economy is about 5 times bigger than India's economy. We have the same kind of population, but Chinese economy is 5 times bigger. And therefore, let alone India, even advanced countries find it difficult to compete with the checkbook diplomacy of China. Therefore, to argue that India is failing to utilize SAARC and BIMSTEC and thereby neutralize China's influence in South Asia is a flawed argument. My own view would be that undoubtedly, as we discuss later, we'll find out in the underperformance of SAARC, or if you want to be very frank, in the non-performance of SAARC in the past several years, and in the slow development of BIMSTEC. There is a multiplicity of factors which is at work. This has something to do with, first of all of us, countries of this region. It has also certainly something to do with, when we talk of SAARC, the India-Pakistan issues. It has also something to do when we talk about both SAARC and BIMSTEC with regard to the mindset of the smaller neighbors of India. And above all, it has much to do with the role of the external powers, particularly China at this stage. In short, South Asia, shaped by its history and geography, is a neighborhood of our own countries and neighbors. China, in my view, can never be treated as a member of South Asia, but that does not mean that South Asia cannot have cooperative relations with China. It certainly can, and it must. Yet, there has to be some basic respect of the boundaries of South Asia as we understand it so far.
Do you see the possibility of SAARC and BIMSTEC working together, as there are various sectors where both can work together?
This is again a very well-founded question. It is based on rationality. It is based on sound logic. Unfortunately, for reasons which are not totally clear to me, these two institutions have kind of worked in parallel. In fact, they should work in a complementary fashion. Now, as we know, SAARC Secretariat is located in Nepal. BIMSTEC Secretariat is located in Dhaka. So in one of the institutions, in fact, in one of the events, I had suggested that the Secretary General of SAARC and Secretary General of BIMSTEC should be natural interlocutors, to discuss the broader and similar development challenges of this region. But I know that this perhaps does not happen, and this probably does not happen due to maybe some sensitive political reasons. But let us hope a day will come when both these institutions will find themselves on the path of normal functioning. And if God willing that day arrives, particularly with regard to SAARC, surely BIMSTEC will meet and it will function normally. But if that day were to come for SAARC, then this question that you have raised will become relevant and it should be reflected upon with due care.
Ambassador Bhatia, as the development of BIMSTEC are at a snail pace, do you think BIMSTEC can also meet a similar fate as SAARC?
No, I hope not. No, I'm confident about the future of BIMSTEC. It has much greater convergence. It does not carry the burden of India-Pakistan tensions. It certainly is totally immune from the implications of the recent upheaval in Afghanistan. The synthesizing of interests in the member states in BIMSTEC is much more close. I think what BIMSTEC really needs is to now work seriously on the package of reforms which has already been agreed. It needs to strengthen the Secretariat. It needs to provide certain financial powers, if not financial autonomy, to the Secretariat. It must find adequate funds for various development projects that it has in mind. BIMSTEC has already worked on the master plan for connectivity, master plan for regional connectivity, which is awaiting the approval of the heads of state and government. And above all, this rationalization of sectors which has been recommended, bringing down the number of sectors of cooperation from 14 to 7, with each member country being a lead country for that particular sector. I think that needs to be implemented. So if these aims are kept in view, we can be certain that BIMSTEC will have a reasonably bright future. But above all, if you allow me, I would say that it cannot succeed only as a club of the governments. There is a need for engaging very actively with business communities of our member states, and above all, the third space or the people to people context among our member states. Then we can be confident of a bright future for BIMSTEC.
Ambassador Bhatia, why did BIMSTEC emerge as a preferred grouping of countries in South Asia? It's been more than 2 decades since the formation of BIMSTEC. Is it still struggling for relevance, especially in the context of countries like Nepal?
Well, this is where we come to grapple the trajectory of SAARC and the trajectory of BIMSTEC. Even when SAARC was functioning normally, as you know, SAARC was established in 1985. Even when it was functioning, India, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Thailand, and Myanmar thought it fit to have this new body, because this was in consonance with the view that there is a natural connectivity between parts of South Asia and parts of Southeast Asia. So BIMSTEC was created, and it made some progress, but it was not making too much progress because there was SAARC as well. It is only when SAARC came to a kind of stop in 2014, that was the last summit. I think it was also held in Kathmandu. From that point onwards, I should not conceal the fact, India gave a special push to BIMSTEC, and that is how it went through a very positive phase till about 2019. Now, all the parameters of convergence, culturally, economically, in terms of trade, in terms of transportation, they are much stronger in the case of BIMSTEC. And you have a very advanced economy in Thailand. You have a very fast moving economy in Bangladesh. And therefore, slowly the idea began to come or emerge that all these 7 countries in direct or indirect terms can subscribe to the concept of the Bay of Bengal community. So that vision related to the Bay of Bengal, Nepal is definitely directly connected, because without Nepal's Himalayas and the rivers, the Bay of Bengal would not be there. So the Bay of Bengal community, that identity is driving BIMSTEC forward. And therefore, I can reiterate that we should look forward to the next summit, giving a very special push to the future trajectory of our institution.
Ambassador Bhatia, why did the BIMSTEC countries avoid discussing the military suppression in Myanmar, despite the calls to strongly raise this?
This has something fundamentally to do with the inner political philosophy of BIMSTEC. BIMSTEC is a body for multi-sectoral technical and economic cooperation among its 7 member states. It avoids contentious political bilateral issues, and it certainly respects the sovereignty of each member state, which means it does not interfere in the internal affairs of the state. So clearly, BIMSTEC does not have any formal role in the case of the kind that Myanmar is going through, a political, security, constitutional crisis in the country. Now, does that mean BIMSTEC has not even an informal role to help ease out the matters? No, I think we will not go to that extent. But then there is yet another problem, which is that due to the actions of the Myanmar government, or if you wish to call Myanmar military, about 1 million people from the Rakhine state were driven to go and seek shelter in the neighboring Bangladesh. So there is this further dark weight of Myanmar-Bangladesh tensions, bearing on BIMSTEC. So it is because of these reasons, BIMSTEC political leaders, officials, diplomats are unable to contribute any resolution of the Myanmar issue, and therefore the world has agreed that if there is any regional body which can help, it is ASEAN. And as you know very well, Pramodji, even ASEAN is struggling badly to deal with this issue. So let us hope that a resolution will emerge through the efforts of others, which then will help BIMSTEC to grow in a normal manner.
Ambassador Bhatia, what agendas were finalized during the recent 17th BIMSTEC ministerial meeting held virtually? Do you see any progress on those agendas?
My information and my research indicate that it was a good, substantial meeting held in June. All the foreign ministers were there. I think they were enthusiastic about the work done by senior officials and experts. They agreed on a number of very key elements of the agenda. First of all, they agreed on the drafting of the new charter for BIMSTEC. And for this, I must, apportion a big chunk of credit to Nepal, because the idea emerged with the Nepalese government. So we would soon have a brand new substantial charter, a kind of a constitution of BIMSTEC. It didn't have it so far. Excuse me. And then there is a very clear series of reforms which have been agreed. Financial reform and administrative reform for secretariat, the reduction of the number of sectors for practical cooperation, and above all, the master plan of connectivity. So all these proposals are ready, and also I think regular summits to be held of BIMSTEC. They are just waiting for the approval of the heads of state and government. And therefore, I hope it would be agreed that the sooner our leaders meet, the better it would be for the future of BIMSTEC and for its ability to contribute to the economic development, to peace and prosperity of our region.
Ambassador Bhatia, according to you, where does Nepal stand in the SAARC as well as BIMSTEC narrative? What role can Nepal play in these multilateral organizations?
Both as a friend of Nepal and as an observer, I can say with full sincerity that Nepal has a very significant role to play in both these regional organizations. I think public intellectuals, institutions, officials, diplomats, leaders of Nepal fully understand the need of these two institutions in our region. South Asia is a region that hosts a massive chunk of world population. It's a region which is heavily populated and very densely populated. It's a region which is still struggling to alleviate poverty and to accelerate economic development. It's a region which trades much less among itself than many other regions. And it is also a region which is afflicted with various kinds of political tensions. And above all, it is a region where one of the external powers has been coming into the region in a very big manner, something that was not seen before. So given all these considerations, Nepal has a prominent role to play for the simple reason that it was and it is the founding member of both the institutions. It hosts the secretariat of one of them, SAARC. It is continuing to be the chair of SAARC. It's a very prominent and active member of BIMSTEC. We look forward to Nepal, a friendly neighbor of India, a very close and traditional and steadfast friend and neighbor of India, to play a fair role. I think we look forward to Nepal playing the leadership role to safeguard the sanctity of South Asia. Certainly, it has an informal role to play in terms of trying to remove the obstacles to further growth of SAARC. Of course, this is a bigger issue, but on BIMSTEC, it has certainly a much easier wicket to play on, so to say, and therefore my request to Nepal's friends in Nepal would be the same as my request to friends in India and Sri Lanka. Let us all work together to keep creating a favorable climate for the revival of SAARC, and let us also keep creating a very clear movement for a much more active and a stronger BIMSTEC in the years to come, because they represent a very strong convergence of interests among our people and our nations.
Ambassador Bhatia, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for giving me this wonderful opportunity to talk to all your viewers and go across to your readers as well. Thank you.